Well, hey everybody, it's another Conversations with, and I am so thrilled to have my good dear friend Richard Morco with me today, and it's just a pleasure to see you, sir.
It is a pleasure to see you.
And I'm so happy that the both of us woke up this morning. It's wonderful.
And you're lucky I'm not carrying a gun, or I'd steal that hat.
Okay. Oh well, this is my. I got this in Ireland, obviously.
I'm shocked.
Okay. But anyway, we have so much to talk about. Are you for the impeachment of the president?
No, and I'm not a fan of the president. I didn't vote for him, and I won't vote for him if one person. I probably won't vote for him at all. But if a Democrat, there's one Democrat I would vote for. But I'm not. Why I am not for the impeachment is I want to know a specific statute crime. Now, Bill Clinton was found guilty of perjury, and they didn't impeach him. He was found guilty of a crime, and they didn't impeach him. I think they could have for that. I didn't like the Starr investigation. I don't think he should have been bothered about his proclivities with someone who was obviously willing, bit ditzy and nut, but in this country, you have free to be crazy. So, I'm against it because it will say to people in flyover country, they don't care about us. Our votes don't matter. It will break the constitutional order. And that's what I'm afraid of.
Well, I'm for it because I don't think there's any doubt in my mind after watching the hearings and then his stonewalling any of his people to testify, and that there's got to be a reason why he doesn't want them to testify. They invited them, they subpoenaed them, so he obstructed Congress, which is breaking the law.
What named the law? There is no law obstructing Congress.
Oh yeah, the subpoenas.
That's not that's not a statute of obstructing Congress.
Well, if they subpoena a witness and he refuses to send the witness,
then they could have gone to court and compelled it, but they didn't.
Well, I understand that. Oh, I understand. Look, you know what's bothering me about the whole thing? Really disappointing me as I sit and I watch both sides snarling at each other like a bunch of high school kids, over whose ball it is, is all those Congress people and the senators are really interested in, bottom line, is getting themselves reelected. That's what they care about most, period. And it's on display. I watched ABC for a while today. It's blatantly on display. They only care about themselves and their own re-elections. And there's not one of them that's standing up, and even to your point, Richard, and making a valid case to impeach this guy. Now, I don't like him. I think he's an absolute detriment to the presidency. I think he had no right. And Rudy Giuliani, with a friend like Rudy Giuliani, who needs friends? But this guy goes out now and says, yeah, I was the ringleader. I was the one who tried to get rid of Yanovich. Get her out of there. She was in the way. She was blocking I wanted to get an investigation going, and she was blocking it.
But how does he not have a right to do that?
Who, Rudy Giuliani?
Giuliani. I mean, people try to get people fired in government all the time.
Oh, I understand.
It's not a crime.
I understand, but to take a woman who's got 25 or 30 years of top-notch.
How do you know that's top-notch?
Well, because everybody on both sides.
I've read a lot of other stuff. Now remember, the mainstream media is not going to say she was a loser. Even if she was, they wouldn't, because she's on their team. You are not going to hear on the mainstream media that she was not a goddess.
Well, I didn't say she was a goddess.
What you almost did.
I'm saying to you.
You were fulsome in
that
your
she
praise.
had 25 to 30 years of foreign service in our government, and both sides during when she was testifying, both sides praised her for that.
Yeah, they're losers too. If you read the Tocqueville about who gets into Congress, he is basically Americans don't get into government service until they've been incompetent in their own affairs. These guys couldn't run raffles. And they're praising this. The gentle lady, or this or that. Come on. You know, Bismarck said, people should not see sausage being made or laws being made for the same reason. Now, I've seen sausages being made. I'd rather see sausages being made. I'd rather make sausages than see laws being made. Because there's, what's his name? The guy from Oklahoma, he's part Indian, the humorist, said, when Congress makes a law, it's a joke. When they make a joke, it's a law. Now, these are not to be held up as exemplary people. And just because
I'm
they,
telling you, I watched it. All they care about is getting reelected.
Yeah, but they said you quote them. Oh, they're all saying.
I'm only saying that this woman, I have not heard one person criticize her except Trump and Rudy Giuliani.
I have.
And then the reason is because she was blocking him investigating Biden's, and that's what he said, and that's why I got rid of her.
And I have read left wingers, not right wingers, who say this woman was a clown. She was a partisan hack. So maybe I'm wrong. I'm willing to say that.
But why should to the point she served under both Republicans and Democratic presidents?
She was a career person. They all you can as long as you're part of the club. Okay, you want to know who? I can prove my point. Remember the guy with the bow tie? Kent, I think his name was. Was he Taylor or Kent? And he's talking about how his family served in the only person he didn't talk about actually in military service was himself, because maybe he has the Purple Heart from something, but he didn't mention himself. But anyway, he mentions a few things that were absolutely ridiculous. He said, Admiral John Paul Jones, when he was fighting, he had the help from the French, and we needed him. John Paul Jones was not an admiral in the American Navy. We didn't have admirals into the Civil War. That's first of all. He was an admiral in guess whose Navy? The Russian Navy. He was made an admiral by Catherine the Great, and she was the person who took Crimea first of all. So he was serving the people who are now our enemies. The guy's a wacko. He knows nothing. I almost feel like calling up Harvard and saying, do you know who you graduated? A nincompoop. Nice tie, though. Don't get me wrong.
Well, if you want to be real honest, and if you want to...
I'd never.
If you want to sit back and have that discussion, and I'm going there, of watching the 2 weeks of hearings, you wanted to see a bunch of nincompoops. They were on full display, representing the Congress of the United States.
I agree with you.
I mean, give me some of the questions. Some of them were, that guy Jordan, sit down and be quiet, And I mean, it was ridiculous. And then Schiff, pretending to be, the high and mighty, above reproach. Give me a break.
Well, see, he wanted to be an actor in Hollywood.
He should have been.
This is his chance.
He was auditioning for a TV show.
This was Mr. Thespian here, not Mr. Legislator.
He was auditioning for a TV show. Yeah. But I mean, the thing is that what was really, I don't know what the right word for me is, but I'm one of these clowns who really thinks that the President of the United States should be a dynamite, classy guy, like maybe a Jack Kennedy or a Abe Lincoln, and I'm sure he had faults. Someone shot him, and I guess I idealize the office. And then I look at senators and representatives, and I had the great joy of meeting Senator John Kennedy. I had a greater joy when I was up in New Hampshire, chatting for about 5 minutes with John McCain, Senator John McCain, when he was running for president. A friend of mine brought him in, and at a place called the Bond Tavern, where the elite met to eat every night. And she was a great big Republican. I was, of course, a big Democrat. And everybody in the Bond used to say, they were best. How can you two guys be your best friends? Because we are politically motivated, and I respect her views, even though I may not agree with them. And she respects my position, even though she doesn't agree with me. That doesn't mean we can't be good friends. And we sit at night and have discussions that are delightful. Anyway, she brought in, I want you to meet John McCain. Oh, I can't wait. What a guy. I mean, I sat with him for 5 minutes, and he impressed me. He really impressed me. And so I've met people who, I met Orrin Hatch, who I think is another. Yeah, are they politicians? Of course they are. They're politicians. But certain one of them, rise to the top of the jar.
Why do you?
They got a little
what
cream on them.
What was it about McCain that you really, really admired?
He and I sat. He was incredibly forthcoming. We chatted because Ted Kennedy came up, and we had a conversation about my relationship with Kennedy and his relationship with Kennedy. And he just was. Now, was there star power there? Sure. I'm talking a decorated, well, I was going to call him a hero, but Trump would yell at me. But a decorated military person, served his country for many years, et cetera, et cetera. And so this part of that, and here's a guy running for president. I think that,
We think that what? Well, elevates him?
Yeah, to me. Ooh,
Well, Trump ran for president. Why doesn't that elevate him?
there's a big difference between.
Well, no, wait, no.
There's a big difference between Donald Trump
but you posited,
and John McCain.
I agree there is, but you posited this. I mean, Donald Trump was never stupid enough to say we're all Georgians now, which was dumb, really dumb. But when you go like this, like
He was smart enough to send a 6-page letter that was like a school kid.
who was?
He was Trump.
Well, it was a 6-page letter. So what? Well, I
If
haven't
he was
read
a
the letter.
school kid.
Okay, have you read that letter?
I read a lot of it.
You read a lot of it.
Yeah.
And what was the exact quote? The part that made him out to be a school kid? I know I'm an SOB. I'm sorry.
The things he said, the statements he made, taking absolutely
I didn't read it.
absolutely no responsibility for what happened, and he's responsible for at least it being discussed, and saying no, and he says blasting.
What statement should he have made for response? Give me the statement he should have made.
When they asked him, does he have any responsibility for what's happened?
No. What is the specific statement of responsibility? Not a yes or no. What is this? Here is where my responsibility lies. What should he have said?
If I were him and I was asked that question, do you take any responsibility for what's happening? He said, absolutely none, zero.
And if he believes that, he should.
Well, if he believes that, he's crazy.
Why?
Crazy. Because
Why?
because he's done things and he said things and things have happened
What
that
crime?
caused people concerns.
I have caused my parents concerns all growing up, and they didn't shoot me. They probably should have. But I mean,
Well, they might have impeached you.
We're meeting together to impeach our son. Boy, that they would have probably done.
Yeah.
We can't hang him. We'd like to, but
Go get a job and get out.
yeah. I eventually did.
Yeah.
It was tough. Anyway, all right, I'm off track. Well, hey, do we have anything pleasant that happened this month?
Well, yeah, sure.
Name 5 things. No, name it.
5 things that was pleasant this month that happened.
We got up every day.
My grandson Brady, who's 12, the phone rang and I picked it up. It was Brady Vaughan. And he says, "Hi, Papa. I just called to see how you're feeling. How's everything going?" Floored me. We had a 3 or 4 minute conversation with this little guy. And I said, "Brady, that was so nice of you to call. Well, I've been thinking about you, and I just want to make sure you're okay." "Brady, that's great. Thank you so much." And we talked about the Patriots because he's a huge Patriot fan. And it was a great conversation. That was wonderful. And then a great friend of mine who I love dearly, her name is Andrea Humphreys. There was a song that came out that was sent to me by a friend of mine who works in the Chancery at Worcester called At This Table. It's by, you can go watch it online, Indina, what's her name? Indina something. But Indina something did it. It's called At This Table. Well, I sent a copy of it to Andrea, who sings in the choir at St. Joseph's. And she sang it last Sunday at the 10 o'clock Mass. It was breathtaking. It was magnificent. So much so that tomorrow night, as a special treat for Christmas, Drew and I are going to St. Joseph Church, and we're going to record the St. Joseph's Choir. Before the 10:30 Christmas Eve Mass every year, starting at 10 o'clock, they do a half hour of all Christmas songs. And we're going to record that tomorrow night, and it's going to be available on TV Charlton. TV Spencer has asked for a copy of it. Sturbridge just wants a copy, so we're going to have copies made, and we're going to use it and play it Friday, Saturday, right up through Christmas Day.
Excellent.
And it's just a bunch of Christmas songs by an incredible choir. But as part of that, before we do that section, she's going to record At This Table for us. So she's a magnificent singer. She's a delightful woman, and so I'm really excited about tomorrow night. So that's the second very positive thing that happened to me. And the third positive thing that happened to me is I got a car. I mean, I stole one. I have to be honest. I made a great deal, and I have a new GLK. It's 1 year older than the one I had. However, the one I had has 78,000 miles, and they're going to cost Dickie some money, and I got one with 31,000 miles, a 2014. And it's black on, looks just like the one I had, but it's got low mileage, and it's got a few more cookies that the other one didn't have.
A few more bells and whistles.
Oh yeah. You know, if anybody walks near my car, it yells at them, "Get out of the way!" No, it toots me to tell me that there's somebody there. You know, but anyway, that was the third thing. And let's see what else great happened. All the gang is coming Saturday to the house.
Excellent.
For Christmas. The 5 kids and their grandkids, and they're all coming, and they'll be there we have to have it from 11 o'clock to 3, because the Patriots are playing Saturday at 4:25, and everybody wants to be back home to watch the game. We do this every year. We have them the Saturday before Christmas, because they all like to be home Christmas Day, you know, and that's great. So it's wonderful. And then we're alone Christmas Day, and it's great. You know, we don't have to do anything. We can relax, have a nice day. So I've had some great things happen, and because I'm a very positive guy, and I learned a long time ago. I told you the story. When I was in the hospital, I had a tough year this year medically. And the early part of the year, I was in and out of the hospital. And one day, I'm sitting there, and I had a pity party, and I cried. I mean, I had tears. And nurse come running in, you know, and I cried for about 35 or 40 seconds, and I started to laugh. And what I cried about, I said to myself, "You're going to turn 84 in August. That means that you've been on this earth longer than you have time left to be on it." Yeah. Whoa. And I started to, real pity party. And I started to laugh. And when I started to laugh, I said out loud the Serenity Prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change. And the nurse came running in. "Are you okay?" And I told her the story, and she gave me a big hug. And I said, but let me share with you what I just learned. Maturity brings with it a whole new set of challenges that I never knew were coming. And what I mean by that is there are now things that I can't do anymore that I used to do in 2 seconds. I can't go up and down ladders like I used to. Yeah. I can't run around the yard mowing the lawn. I got to get either a rider mower or a kid to do it for me. One or the other. Because I can't do it with the machine anymore, even though it's a walk behind and it drives itself. Weighs 240 pounds. You got to turn the thing, you know. So It took me 3 days to put the Christmas lights on the tree out front. We have 2 pine trees. You know, I waited for a nice day, and I ran out and put all the lights on. Then I waited for another nice day to go get the plug out to plug them in, and I had to put the timer on them, so they go on at 4:30 and off at 9. You know, so, but it took me. I got it done. But maturity brings with it a whole new set of challenges, and you just have to sit down and accept things that are very difficult when you've been a doer all your life and an aggressive, go get it done. And you just have to sit back and say, can't do it. You know, I gotta go in a different direction. I gotta, you know, and then I'm getting arthritis, so I can't hold. And these companies that sell you their product, and go ahead and try to get them open. Go ahead, have fun.
Wait a minute, you stay with the good now. Come on, stay with it.
That's good. I got to tell you this. I have one adjustable wrench, and I specifically bought it for those products that the customer, they sell me, to go ahead and see if you can open it. So I just put the wrench on and go,
Right.
and open it right up, no problem. But anyway, you know, it's a joy, and I love Christmas. Christmas is my favorite day of the year. And I say it I've said it since, I remember saying it at one time when I lived in Ware at Oak Ridge Circle. We had a cul-de-sac. We were all we're thick as thieves, the whole bunch of us. Well, I used to have a Santa Claus outfit. And I used to get a big pillow and like a big pillow and put it in front of me. And Christmas Eve, I would get all dressed up, and I would go out of the house, and I would go right around the neighborhood, and I would run up to the window, and I'd bang on the window, you know, and the kids would come out, and there's Santa Claus. And to see through Santa Claus' eyes, those little kids.
Yes.
It was, I couldn't wait to do it, you know. And by the way, it took a little bit away from my own poor kids because they knew it was me, you know. But it doesn't matter.
But you're going to dress them in elf costumes.
One of the best things I ever did, my youngest daughter, Kerry, she came home from school one day. She was about 8 years old. Time anyway, but she came home from school one day. Daddy, you know what Super Susie told me at lunch? Oh, what, Kerry? There's no Santa Claus. It's your mother and father. Oh, really? Well, Kerry, you're taking an awful chance. You're taking an awful chance. You better rethink that. Because every year, and I'll get back to that story in a second because there's a funny part of it. Every year, at the end of after everybody opens their presents, and I've said it since my kids were little kids, I would always sit back and look at the room of joy. Joy. And I'd say, there really is a Santa Claus. What a shame we can't keep him here for a little more than 2 days. Because back on the 26th, watch out! They'll cut you off, they'll give you the finger, they'll run you over. But before that, it's, hey, Merry Christmas, hey, great to see you. On the 26th of December, watch out. But anyway, so what I did, my son Dennis was in college. He comes home, I need a favor. What, Dad? We had a big fireplace in the room. I said, I want you to put on the costume, the backside. I don't want you to bend over like you're coming out of the chimney. He said, okay, Dad. So I took a Polaroid camera. Remember the Polaroids? In those days, they didn't have instant things. I took a picture of him coming out, and I saved it. So I told him as he was going to bed, Christmas Eve, you better leave him a Coors Light, and you better leave him some peanuts, because that's what I liked, peanuts and Coors Light. Never mind milk. So,
What a manipulator.
So she left Coors Light, she left him a note, and I said, because you remember what you told me. So that night she goes to bed. And about 1 a.m, we used to broadcast the midnight mass from one of the churches, St. Mary's in Ware. I come home, and I sit down and I put the picture on the table of the big red suit coming out of the chimney. And it was a little note. Kerry, I hope you'll believe. Love, Santa. Thanks for the drinks. And a little note. And she gets up the next morning. She sees the picture. So I didn't think any more of it. So she comes home from school after the school went to vacation, January 3rd, I believe. Dad, I showed the kids there's really a Santa Claus. And they were going, oh, what? And I showed them the picture that you took of Santa coming down my chimney. And they were all, oh. And the teacher said, Kerry, let me see that. And she says, oh, I hope you kids don't believe. I hope you look at Kerry got. You know, so that bought another year.
You might, yeah, I was going to say. So how old is Kerry now?
Oh, she's 39.
I still believing.
Yeah, well, she's still, but you know, it's so true. Even with the kids, when they're all there Saturday, they'll all be there, and we give the grandkids gifts, and the kids, I just give them a check, and I give them all a scratchy, $5 scratchy, and the deal is if they win 10,000 or under, they can keep it. If it's over 10, we divide it. You know, but anyway, that will never happen probably. But they all think I'm unfair because I do that.
Oh.
I said, well, you win 25 or 30 grand. You got 3 brothers and 2 sisters. Give them each $5 grand. You're gonna make 20.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, but I always say there really is a Santa Claus.
Yeah. You know? For all those of you out there in Charlton Land and the other towns, he's not a bad guy. I don't care what you're all saying.
Yeah. But you know the situation is with all that's going on. I see a thing today now. Our wonderful legislature isn't bad enough paying $3. Now our wonderful legislature wants to raise the gas tanks 17 more cents because they want to fix the roads or something. Give me a break.
We all know. We all know that cousin Fred is getting a job.
I've told them 100 times. You want to fix the roads in Massachusetts? I gave them the greatest idea of all.
I know you did.
Sell the girders, Herbie Chambers,
yeah.
Dunkin' Donuts, Gillette, the best man a shave can get, or whatever they say. You know, who else? Ernie Bach, come on down. They couldn't wait to buy those things.
Yeah.
And then keep the bridges clean. They'll paint them every year. And I said, and they can't do that. But boy, they're going to charge more money.
Of course.
You know.
But they always, you know, that isn't as bad as what they were planning to do before. An automatic.
We got a real problem. We have a real big problem. Remember the vote we made 20 years ago to lower the tax to 5%?
Yeah.
And they would never do it?
Yeah.
It happened this year. It's based on a formula. And guess what? We went from 506% down to 5%.
Oh, that must hurt this.
Starting January 1st. Oh, they're beside themselves.
Oh.
It finally happened. It took 19 years.
Live within your means.
Yep. Yep.
Live within our means.
Well, that's the problem. You know, I used to preach it to Dukakis all the time. Michael, you cannot spend what you do not have. And he always looked at me and he says, you know, you're so right, but it's so hard to do.
Yeah. Well,
You're so right, but it's so hard to do.
Yeah.
But it's true. You do it. I do it.
I was raised by the woman who could pitch a penny better than anybody.
You know, all those mothers in those days, they were. My mother did all the paperwork, paid all the bills. She was down to a penny.
Yeah. My mother made my sister's club dresses.
My mother made all our clothes, 3 boys.
That I wouldn't have told.
She made all our. We had beautiful Irish Donegal tweed pants. Oh.
That I would have.
See this?
Yeah,
my mother went to Ireland, met a lady in a little store that sold yarn. The lady gave her a pattern, and my mother bought the yarn, brought it home from Ireland, and she made this for me, my brother David, my brother Terry, and my sister Mary's got a cardigan sweater.
That has worn well.
And you know how old this is? She probably gave me this in 1981.
Whoa.
There it is.
That is excellent.
She has her name on the collar. There's a little label made with her name on it.
Excellent.
And I keep it there because that's my pride and joy. But anyway, have a great, 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 great Christmas and New Year.
Happy Christmas.
Yep. And we're looking forward to another great year.
That, it is devoutly to be wished, and let's do our best to make it that.
I got you. There you are, folks, another Conversations With.